Everybody, and thank everybody for joining today. So my name's Sarah Hennessy and I'm the CEO of African Star Tours, which is based in the UK, and we are fortunate enough to have the opportunity to sell tours to the beautiful continent that is Africa. Today we're in South Africa at the Shamwari Game Reserve, and we'll be going out any minute now to see what we can find. So I'm very, very excited. I've had personal requests for lions and giraffes, but I do have to stipulate we can't specify exactly what we will find because they are animals that are in the wild. So we just wanted to lay down pretty much just one house rule, which is if you could please keep your computer on mute, and that's just so that everybody can hear the rangers and can hear what's going on. And I would just like to offer my personal thanks to everybody that has actually purchased a ticket today. So 100% of the money that you have donated will go to the Shamwari Community Fund and to Makomborero, which is based in Zimbabwe. So we are very, very happy for everybody that has donated today, and we really do. So I'm sure you're all desperate to actually see the animals as opposed to myself. So I'm just going to mute myself now, and I'm going to hand over to the fantastic team at Shamwari. And thank you for all you've done today.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thanks for the introduction. And I, like you, also don't want to talk too much because I'm sure people want to see the animals a lot more than they want to see and listen to me. But I do have to a few housekeeping announcements. And firstly, to say thank you to Nikki and Colin in South Africa that have assisted us in setting up the Zoom call for yourself and a handful of your clients in the UK. We're now into our third month of lockdown, and these Zoom safaris or these Zoom experiences have pretty much become our lifeblood because it's the only time we get to see and experience and share what we do with guests, even though they're not here. So thank you for that, Sarah. And Colin and Nikki, thank you again for thinking of us and letting us set this up. They truly are therapeutic and they keep us sane. Yeah, and it gets us out of the office. So it's a good opportunity. And we're very lucky. Today is an absolutely perfect day. It's probably in the mid-20s. There's a light breeze, not a cloud in the sky. I would compare it to a typical summer's day in England, if I may. Please don't any of the audience take that as an insult. I mean it from the bottom of my heart as a compliment. But yeah, a winter's day in Shamwari is like a summer's day in England. My name is Theo, and my purpose is really just to welcome you to Shamwari, let you know where I'm standing and tell you a little bit about the game reserve before I hand over to my colleagues, Andrew, who's our head ranger, and some of his team who are out in the bush. Right now, folks, for those of you who are not familiar with Shamwari, I'm actually going to turn my camera around. Standing. This is the old Longley Manor. It's almost 100 years old. Many of you may recognize that building having previously been pink. This is the original flagship lodge of Shamwari Private Game Reserve. And it's an old farmhouse which we converted into the first lodge when we opened up 30 years ago. It looks very, very different now. Unfortunately, we've got rid of the pink because for the last year we've refurbished this beautiful lodge, and this is what it now looks like. I'm going to pan over and show you. That's the restaurant and the dining area. That's the manor house there with 2 suites upstairs and our reception downstairs. Behind that wall over there, that's our spa facility. And then obviously all of the rooms are down that path, located in blocks overlooking the plain. That over there is our pool bar, which overlooks the swimming pool. And then I'm going to step over here and show you probably one of the most breathtaking views of any lodge on the African continent. What you see in front of you, folks, is our infinity pool. It's empty at the moment. Obviously, because of lockdown, we're using the time just to do some repairs on the pool. But what you see in front there, all of that is 25,000 hectares of Shamwari Private Game Reserve. And obviously the lodge where I'm standing here, this is one of 8 lodges at Shamwari, this being Longley Manor, our flagship property. On the 25,000 hectares reserve, i.e. all out there, we've got another 7 lodges. And each of them is very unique and different in its own way, catering to a very specific kind of clientele and guest. So for example, if you take our Riverdene Family Lodge, which is about 20 minutes that way, that's 9 suites, and it's got a kids adventure center, kids programs, educational programs, a whole kids on safari experience, and that's really tailored for families traveling with kids. Then you've got our Sandile luxury tented camp that was also built last year. We finished it in December. So that lodge, together with this beautiful lodge here, have actually only been operating for 3 months, because obviously at the end of March we closed down because of the lockdown, which is obviously a bit of a shame. So obviously in the south, we've got Longley Manor, we've got Riverdene, we've got Cirilli, which is our exclusive use villa, which sleeps 10 people. We're quite confident that that'll be popular in a post-COVID world, obviously, because you take the whole place, you get a private chef, a private ranger, a private host, and that's you pretty much all by yourself for your entire stay and duration. Then in the north of the lodge, which is pretty much over those mountains over there, we've got our Eagles Crag Lodge, which is 9 suites, very popular with honeymooners and couples. You've got our Lobengula Lodge, which is in the way north of the reserve, which is 6 rooms. It sleeps 12 people. And then obviously our Baeti luxury tented camp, which is a 12 tented lodge, also in the middle of the reserve. So that's really a whirlwind tour of Shamwari.
Theo, we've lost reception.
In terms of you don't really have to be free. Have you lost reception with me? Am I back, Shelley?
Yes, you are back.
Okie dokie. Cool. Sorry, I was just giving a little bit of an overview of our location, so I'm not sure how much you heard of that. In terms of location, we are an hour outside of Port Elizabeth. So if you're traveling to Shamwari, you would either fly from Joburg, Durban, or Cape Town directly into Port Elizabeth, and then you've got an hour's drive to the lodge. So we're very conveniently located. There's no need to drive 5 or 6 hours from Joburg up to the Kruger or to fly to KMI. So easy access, centrally located. And obviously once you're here, you've got this lodge, you've got 7 other lodges, and you've got 25,000 hectares of private game reserve. So it's a wonderful safari destination. It's easy to drive here. It's obviously malaria free. That also gives us an advantage over some of the other lodges in the north of the country. But without further ado, folks, I certainly did not want this to turn into a sales pitch. It's more about the animals and spending time in the bush with Andrew and his team. So from my side, I again wanted to thank you for listening to me, first of all. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to introduce Shamwari to you and show you some of our jewels. But more importantly, I think right now, all I want to do is hand over to Andrew so that he and his team can show you some of the wonderful wildlife and also share the incredible conservation story that is Shamwari. So from my side, in terms of the hospitality, the fine food, the wine, and the service, I'll say good afternoon, enjoy your weekend, and more importantly, enjoy the next couple of hours with Andrew and his team. He's got an incredible bunch of guys, highly knowledgeable, very skilled, and very passionate. So I know that they're waiting out there and can't wait to share the story with you. So thanks for listening, folks, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Andrew, over to you.
Thank you, Theo. Appreciate it. I am hopefully going to be able to show you something amazing that is lying just under the bushes over there. I don't know if you can see, there's something that that's kind of looks like a bit of a cat and a little bit spotted. I'm just going to reposition my vehicle quickly. So I'm very fortunate enough to have come across this leopard who's actually busy moving at the moment. So I do apologize and excuse my manners, but good afternoon, everyone, and what a pleasure to be here as we start this, as Shelley named it so fantastically, a Zoomfari. It's the new word, the new norm, I suppose. And as we reposition ourselves over there, you can see there is our lovely young leopard male, so well camouflaged in the grass over there. He is mobile at the moment, which means he's moving from spot to spot. As I came around the corner, he was moving from that thicker bush clump over there at the back over there, and he settled in this little shady spot over here where he is now. I think one of the most amazing things that we've noticed over the last few weeks of doing these Zoom drives is how active the cats are in wintertime during the day. And, you know, with it being slightly cooler than in summertime, they really are during all hours of the day getting mobile and active. And we've seen some of the most amazing interactions. Animals, you know, lions making kills. We had 3 separate kills the other day in one day. It was absolutely amazing. And leopards during the daytime. It's been absolutely fantastic. So yeah, absolutely wonderful to be here. This is a young leopard that I'm going to try and stay with this afternoon. And as we spend the next hour or so taking you guys around our reserve as much as possible, virtually anyway, we'll hopefully be able to show you some amazing sightings and give you a bit of an insight into Shamwari and why it's such an amazing place. So I'm going to stick with this guy. To the rest of my guides who are on at the moment, afternoon everyone, and if he does get mobile again, I'm just going to interrupt you guys with a quick and curt excuse me and jump back before this guy disappears, as I think the leopard is one of the ultimate and most elusive animals out in the bush. So what I'm going to do is I think Jean also had a bit of a dynamic sighting. If we can maybe jump across to Jean and see how you're doing, Jean.
Good afternoon, guys. Yeah, Andrew. I'm currently on the trail of some buffalo that have gone into the thickets, and I just need a few more minutes just to try and relocate them in here. We can head across to Karot along if you don't mind, Karot.
Good afternoon, folks. Yeah, I'm actually at the most amazing afternoon. I'm at the privilege of trying to keep a visual for that request that you folks have. I was able to spend the whole afternoon with these youngsters. Just confirm you all got good visual there on that side. All the sub-adults. So as you can see, I'm very relaxed, all just lying down on the ridge, overlooking this beautiful open. Currently, we've got 8 sub-adults, just all lying down here. 2 females earlier today that I was watching, their moms basically decided to head off and try and go and hunt. And what happens is they basically just stay around, respect what mom's wants, and then eventually when mom does make a kill, she'll either call them or come fetch them. So hopefully, got my fingers crossed that mom will make a kill later on this afternoon. As Andrew said, during the winter times, they tend to be a lot more active, having the cooler conditions. But to explain what I've been seeing today is over there, as Theo was mentioning, is one of our camps, Sindile Lodge. As you can see, it's on the ridge, beautiful luxury tented camp. And me as a guide was privileged enough to actually look over that lodge. And I mean, the sightings we have on the plains varies from rhino to elephants to lions. As today we were blessed with lions all drinking at the watering hole. And I had the privilege to actually watch and see their behavior. As you can see, the one at the back actually rolling around. Very lethargic animals. Generally with lions, they tend to be sleeping around 16 to 18 hours a day. And in that being that they actually restore a lot of energy that they can use later on tonight. These guys, there are 2 different litters. I would say roughly 12 to 15 months, varying between the individuals, and they're not ready to hunt yet. Mom and them will actually, after 2 years, they'll be starting to get the necessary skills and things to be able to hunt for themselves. But for now, they've got to rely on mom's ability to hunt. So extremely relaxed. As you can see, there are a few males. Hopefully they'll be lifting their heads up later on. As soon as they do that, I'll definitely zoom in on that and explain the differences between the younger males. Basically have got a little bit of a mullet, or you would say like a mane, starting to grow now. Not as prominent as you would see on the photographs of a full male lion, but definitely starting to definitely show something. So at the top here, we've got 7 or 6 of them lying down, and then at the bottom there's 2 right behind that little bush, and with mom and the 2 moms included, it's around about 10 in this pride that we found this afternoon. Very, very lucky, an exceptional sighting. So with lions, you see, being as lazy as they are, at night they do most of their hunting, but being opportunistic hunters, it wouldn't be odd for them to be active during the day and possibly just grab the opportunity and hunt something. I was very, very lucky yesterday. Came across them where they was actually feeding on a warthog and got to see the end bit of that, having a bit of a feast. And yet again today, mom's out for the second hunt. In general, every second, third day, they'll go hunt, depending on the size of the hunt, definitely. But also supporting as many individuals in this pride, they need to be on a constant search to provide for so many stomachs. All right, John, I'm going to switch back to John as I reposition myself. Hopefully John's got that video for you.
If I can just interrupt there, Gerard, I've got this guy again walking past me.
Excellent. Thanks.
There we go, guys. Look at him. He's walking along the edge of the river line, just along the bush line. And these cats are so adapted, living in this thicket riverine. And you can see where I am, there's a lot of thick bush and river. I'm going to try and stick with him for a little bit. Beautiful young sub-adult male, about 2 years of age. Just over 2 years of age. You can see he's going to his lookout point over there. Give me a second. I've lost him just the other side of this thicket over there. But that was amazing. I mean, leopards are such shy and elusive animals, so to have a beautiful visual of him like that walking past is just stunning. So what I'm going to do is, if another guide wants to jump on for me, I'll try and see if I can relocate. If I can't, I'm going to carry on and see what other sightings I can get for this afternoon. If there are any special requests, please put them up on the screen for us, and we'll try and make it happen as much as possible. We're obviously on a large reserve, and the animals are doing their own thing, and it's just up for us to try and find them and observe as much as possible. So if there are any special requests, put it up there, and we'll try and make it happen.
Good afternoon, everyone.
If I can maybe hand over to Jan.
Yes, thanks, Andrew. Good afternoon, folks. It's Ranger Jan here. And I saw a message there from David asking about elephants. So I am just going to switch around here. There we go. David, there is elephants. There's one here, and then there was one just feeding literally here right in front of us. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to put my vehicle in there, and then we are going to go and have a bit of a closer look. What a phenomenal afternoon we are having here on the reserve by elephants, Andrew with the leopard, Gerard with the lions. It's really exceptional on the reserve. Another few minutes about a little bit of a breeze in the air, which indeed there is. But it's lovely and warm, as you folks can see. The sun is shining, blue skies. There's a tiny elephant there. It's here where Andrew needs to close his ears because he might hear a bit of a bush as I'm just moving through here a little bit, folks. So just bear with me. There's a big female walking there, and then a youngster busy feeding there. There's actually a lovely herd here. As you can see, there's a big female just catching the tail end of her there. And then there's one relatively close to the vehicle. I'm not going to move any more because he's busy feeding there. And we're just going to see if he's not going to. There's a lot of baby elephants there. I saw someone was mentioning something about babies, so I'm definitely going to try see if I can't show you some of these baby elephants. I might just move a smidge forward just to see what this fella is doing. You'll notice now, because it's winter here with us on the reserve or in South Africa, a lot of the plants, as you can see right around us, the vegetation is still nice and green, but the grass is relatively dull and brown in color. So these elephants, and like any other mammal or herbivores, will be moving and cover some distance during the course of the day just to go and try find the most nutritious parts available for them. You know, elephants, although this one's busy browsing here, do actually prefer eating grass. Looks like a young male here right in front of us, rounded little shaped head, and then the rest of the herd is just off to my left hand side here. So our African elephants, there's another big one coming up right behind. Well, elephants, depending on how far they can travel, you know, and also depending on the area, you know, I think the record for elephants migrating was the furthest ever recorded was up in Etosha, and it was up to 80 kilometers in a single day. So depending on food and water and availability for the natural resources in that area, elephants can average anything from 15 to 20 and up until that record of about 80 kilometers. So elephants do generally cover some ground. It's an animal that needs to consume quite a lot of food. You know, it's a continuous eating, and it's a continuous grazing and browsing. You know, big elephant need to, or fully grown elephant bulls, I'm talking about your top elephants now, big elephant bulls need to consume at least 70,000 calories a day, you know, and that's eating anything from 150 kilograms to 300 kilograms of vegetation that they need to consume. And it's actually interesting, you know, it's if you think about the amount that they're eating, not a lot has actually been digested. Only a third of what they actually eat, I think it stays in the gut for about anything from 12 to 14 hours, and it's like a conveyor belt that goes in and goes out again. So it's only about a third of the nutrition that they actually digested that they're keeping. I just want to see where those babies are turning around. This little fellow here, I just want to move. It's actually an interesting thing that I'm just gonna lean up. I'm sitting in the vehicle and he's so close, but I'm gonna try zoom in a little bit. It doesn't want to really zoom. Oh, there you go. Small little zoom. But I'm not going to zoom in too much, folks, because we lose quite a bit of quality on the phones. As you can notice, he was eating on the bush and now he's eating on the tree there as well. And you can notice that while he's busy feeding on the acacia tree there, earlier he was he grabbed on a piece of branch there. He was pulling it closer towards him, and there's obviously a couple of thorns. As we know, the sweet thorn acacia trees has some thorns, and let's see if he's going to do it again with his right foot. And he was actually rubbing off or flattening out the thorns there to almost smooth it out before he's pulling, almost like a boa constrictor, his trunk, ripping off and then pulling it either closer towards his mouth. If he's not able to bite it off, he's going to use either his left or his right tusk to cut it off like a cutting blade. Let's see if he's going to do that. You'll notice as well, there's got two little fingertips at the end of his trunk. Surprisingly, your Asian elephant doesn't have it. It's only got one little fingertip. So your African elephant that we've got here, there's about 3 species of elephants: African elephant, Asian elephant, and then your forest elephants. Yeah, African elephants can push up a weight anything from 6 tons, where your Asian up to 4 tons, and your forest elephants only about 2.3 tons. Slightly recognition, just to see if I can get to that youngsters, because I saw some of the folks back home. So we've got some youngsters watching as well with us today, which is phenomenal. We miss you dearly, and we would have loved to show you guys what we are seeing. hear me? I think I've lost a slight of connection there. Can you still hear me?
You've just come back, Jan.
Oh, thanks. I have no idea what was happening there. Something happened. I just know I was still looking at the screen, and all of a sudden I was gone. I just saw this black picture. I thought it was all of a sudden someone turned the lights off, and it was all of a sudden dark now. Oh, there we go. There's another youngster there. There's a big female there, folks. And there's some youngsters there. So I'm just going to, a little bit in a position now where the light's not really in my favor. I'm just going to set up here. Here we go. I'm actually using the canopy of the vehicle. Chloe, animals can sleep basically anywhere they find a nice, secure and safe spot for them, my sweetie. So they can lie down. You'll even find elephants that will just lie down here and sleep. There's a tiny baby. I don't know if you can see him, Chloe. I'm going to try zoom in. Let's try zoom in a little bit. There we go. Let's hope he's going to come out, because his mom, you can just see his tiny little legs there. Can you folks see him? There he is, right there. There's his mom. There's another youngster there. So a lovely herd that we've got here, guys. Oh, there's a youngster coming out here right next to us. You can just see by the size of the tusk. I'd reckon he's probably about 5, maybe 6 years old. So Chloe, you are a little bit older than this little elephant right up front here. You know, and it's incredible to experience what we're seeing here, folks. You know, these animals are not worried or concerned at all with us sitting here. You know, they're just doing what they're doing on a normal day. It's feeding, enjoying the bush. Oh, look at that youngster there. See what he's doing there, what I was explaining earlier about pushing down onto the thorns, grabbing onto a piece, and then putting it into his mouth. Look incredible is that. Nice. You know, the trunk contains about 40,000 muscles, and it's divided into as many as about 150,000 individual muscles. Look at the he's just checking us out. You can see the comparison of the vehicle and you know, there's no threat. Oh, that one. See what that youngster did there? Obviously, with that one, especially elephant youngsters. So I want to explain to you what happened there. Elephant youngsters, particularly, will go towards either their mothers or members of the herd, and they will sometimes steal food right out of their mouth, or whatever that individual was with will go and take it away from him. And it's exactly what happened here. And I hope you folks at home saw it as well. There's one that passed the vehicle, walked towards that one, and he's busy there with a acacia tree. A nice little and as that member that's standing there hiding himself now, got to have the buddy, and you can see he is making his way now. There he's moving on a game trail, leading. You know, we talk about game trails. Game trails is literally leading from point A to point B, which is going from one area to another, and that could be for water, it could be for food as well. You can see that big female cow is really tucked in there. Obviously, a lot of the plants that's in hibernation at the moment, it's not really growing season for us on the reserve, although it looks nice and green. You know, this type of vegetation growth around this area, and Andrew will touch base a little bit later about the biomes that we have here in South Africa, but the biome that's dominant here on the reserve is your Albany thicket, and it's an evergreen shrub, so it will pretty much stay green throughout the whole year. We generally see in the season changing if the grass is starting to be a little bit more dull and grey in color, and you can see what that big cow is doing. She's just tucked straight ahead into the deep bush there. She is literally feeding down onto the ground and trying to get us more of the much greener, lusher grass there, and it's just fueling that big body in it. You can imagine, folks, being a massive, massive animal, you need to consume a lot of vegetation to be keeping a big body maintained like it. I'm just going to turn around. There's another youngster coming out through there. So a lovely, lovely herd here. I had them earlier out onto the plain. They came from a watering hole. It's probably about 25 plus. And this herd here, you know, herds ranges anything from 20, even smaller. It could be a small herd of 8. And look at that. Did you folks heard that? I actually didn't even talk now there, but it was amazing how she literally just pushed that tree Let's see if she's going to continue on doing it. Oh, that's incredible. She literally pushed that tree out of her way with no effort at all. She's like, listen here, move on. There's nice green grass, or it could be a flower, it could be a bulb or something, but she's got it. It's straight into her mouth. It looks like a piece of bronze. I struggle to see a little bit over this little guy's rump here. But incredible, you know, with no effort. That animal is so strong in that muscle. It's a powerful animal. And I just picked it up and moved it. So yeah, incredible sighting. Let me just see if there was another question. I want one. I also want one. I keep on telling my wife and my little son that I want to have an elephant. Well, I have them, and we see them every single day. Oh, there's the other one also with his head tucked into the bushes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, John, I'm going to hand over to you, and let's see if you found what you were looking for earlier, and I will try reposition it to see if I can't get a better visual on that babies. John, over to you.
Perfect, thanks, Jan. Yeah, just catching little glimpses as they're moving through the thick bush here. And these are African buffalo. That's coming through here. There you can see a nice big bull coming through, or is behind at least. And they're moving through very, very thick vegetation, unfortunately, guys. I'm going to try and see if we can't catch another glimpse of them, but at the moment, not too hopeful currently, unfortunately. They're moving up a hill where I would not be able to follow, but I'm going to try see if I can go to the top and maybe see if we can't look down onto them, and then we'll come back to you guys. All right.
John, can I just jump in there very, very quickly again, if you don't mind? I know Chloe was asking earlier about if animals are sleeping. So Chloe, I'm just going to switch off my vehicle here. But there's a tiny baby elephant. Ooh, let me just reach out. Look how he's sleeping. Oh, and he's trying to get up. Look how incredible that is. Look at him. Oh, and he is snoozing away. So there's your answer, Chloe. Any time of the day. If the animal feels it's a bit of a time of a siesta and a snooze, they will do it in the vicinity of the big adults. And you can see that youngster is just sleeping. You know, big elephants do sleep as well. You know, they will literally lie down. You know, a lot of the times, you know, they do a bit of a power napping where they'll lock their legs and sleep as well. But elephants, as a lot of your other mammals, will do lie down and sleep. Awesome stuff, Chloe. Glad you enjoyed it, my sweetie. Have a wonderful afternoon. And I am switching back to Andrew.
You can jump over to me, and thank you very much. Yes, I'm driving along here, and just around this bush over here, I've got a beautiful herd of zebras that I'm going to try and approach on. And just to elaborate on that, where do animals sleep, Chloe? If you're as big as an elephant and you don't need to worry about predators, and you've got a super big mom to protect you, yes, anywhere will do. If you're part of the menu, something like a Pumbaa, a warthog, sure we're all familiar with the name Pumbaa from the Lion King. They definitely part of the menu. So for protection and safe sleeping, they actually sleep underground at nighttime in disused aardvark burrows. Here we can see a beautiful group of zebra. Little breeding herd over here. There will be a few females with the youngsters. That's a youngster, about a 5-6 month old youngster. Ben, zebra and giraffe are not always found together, but quite regularly we do see them together. And the reason for that is they don't compete for the same food. You can see that zebra over there is busy eating grass, and the giraffe want to eat the top of the tall trees over there. So the fact that they're not competing for food means that they have quite a good relationship, because it means they can look out and use one another's senses to avoid predators. And if they're not competing for food, they're not all wanting to get the same little nutritious bits and pieces. It works to their advantage. And the longer that relationship holds out, obviously the better. And it's not just zebra and giraffe. We see it with many different species. As long as they're not competing for the same food source, they're quite happy to associate together. And you can see these, that is the age-old question about stripes. Well, now, There's no easy answer to this one, but they actually are now, and it was always argued. It's gone backwards and forth, and there's been a massive amount of jokes. But in the last few years, it's finally been decided upon that zebras are more predominantly black with white stripes, even though if you look towards the hindquarters and that, there's a lot of open white space. But they actually came to that conclusion through embryonic research before a zebra is born and before it gets these proper stripes and patterns and whatever coloration it is. So that's I suppose, the definitive answer. Why do they have stripes is probably one of the most important questions. And I wish I could ask a giraffe, I wish I could ask a zebra and get the answer one day, because I'm sure it would be very interesting and possibly a little completely the opposite of what we assume. But if you look at zebras as a collective, as a group, as a herd, they call the dazzle of zebra, because when they run together, everything is a bright dazzle, and it's a confusion. And that's one of the advantages to being an animal found out in the open areas, is having these bright colors and contrasting colors. When they do clump together, it changes the outline and the body structure of the animal, especially for a predator that won't be able to pick out one individual. It also gets confused, and in so doing, the zebras hope that they'd actually be able to get away. There is a myriad of theories as to why zebras have their stripes. One of them is even a thermoregulation benefit, in that the white parts of their body reflect the heat, and the black parts of their skin absorb the heat, and in so doing forms these little rotational air currents above their body, and in so doing helps keep them cool and thermoregulate themselves. There's even another one that biting flies don't like the patterns, the contrasting patterns, and battle to find them. If you watch zebras, though, they constantly are swishing their tails from side to side to get rid of flies. So I suppose that might be a partial answer, but a phenomenally interesting animal. It's our version of the horse. It isn't a horse. People have tried to ride it and tame it down, but not very successful. It's had a few thousand years behind domestication on a regular domestic horse. These guys haven't evolved the supportive back muscles to be able to hold a big weight on their back. So they would eventually start taking strain on certain muscles, and they would battle with that. Sarah, for giraffes, let's hand you over to the giraffes.
Hey Andrew, sorry to interrupt there. As you can see, I was lucky enough to come across a nice big herd of giraffe. As you can see, they're all feeding in a frenzy here. Very, very nice to find so many giraffes in one spot. And what we recall as a group of giraffe, like Andrew said, with the zebra, they refer to them as dazzle. But with giraffes, when they're moving as they are now, we refer to them as a journey of giraffe. And when they actually come to a standstill, they'll basically recall to a tower of giraffe. Being as tall as they are, it's actually quite a nice sighting here. All moving slowly but surely. I'm just going to reposition my vehicle. But as you can see, with zebras and giraffes also always being one of the favorites to view, with the unique pattern and the unique build, they also tend to feed together every now and then, like Andrew said, where they also capitalize from each other. To add on from that, I mean, animals will also be more safer in numbers. That's why you always get these big groups. As you can see, I don't know if you folks can see, but it's a beautiful sighting. There's further on, you can see there against the hill, all moving together, traveling. Look at these two. So the general differences, as you can see with giraffes, if you have a quick look, the best bet is to actually look at the horns. We refer to them as ossicones. And to determine whether it's male or female, the males will actually have these little bold patches right on top of the ossicones, where females actually have these little bit of tuft on top. I'm trying to zoom in there for you. These little black top. Also much more slender, the horns. So with the pattern, each pattern is it's unique. It's like same as a zebra, almost is identified as their fingerprint. And with giraffes, we refer to that pattern as the Harlequin principle. And that is basically helps with removing the outer line of the body or making it more difficult to see the outer line. And that helps them escape predation from lions, which is actually does happen. Lions do tend to hunt giraffes. Definitely a very difficult catch, but the reward afterwards will be quite great. But being as big as they are and being as many as they are very safe. They tend to be very, very well hidden in terms of group structure. I'm just going to reposition
So I don't know if you
again.
can see what's come out of the bush over here. I'm sitting over here. There's the zebra over there, and have a look at this guy. It's just literally walked out the bushes, and this is a big guy. I've got my windscreen up just to buff it a little bit on the wind. You can see that is a big animal as he just walks by. How awesome is that? So you sit here looking at zebra, and an elephant walks out the bushes on his day, on his duty, and there he goes. Sorry, Gerard, back to you with the giraffe.
Thanks, Andrew. That was an amazing sighting, a massive bull that. Like I was saying with the giraffes, Shamwari is actually one of the very few places you can find these large herds of giraffe all traveling together. Let me just reposition. We've got beautiful ones right in front of us. Look at that. Both of them are male, youngish males, and it's even with them being together, males do tend to fight for dominance, but being as young as they are, they definitely won't do that yet. And out of curiosity, they'll basically just follow the larger herds. You can see there's loads of them. I mean, there's too many to count, to be quite honest. Back here, it's a bit in the sun, can't see us properly, but wow, a large journey of giraffe. Constantly moving. With the wind blowing, they definitely do benefit. With very interesting with trees, that they'll actually communicate to one another with chemicals, trying to defend themselves against these tall browsers. I would say the largest ruminant in the world, and they're basically now feeding into the wind, which helps with the communication and also the success of a more sweeter tasting foliage, better in nutrition. And that way, that when trees communicate with their chemical releases, that chemical won't be blown downwind, and that's how they benefit from that. The way that the trees actually defend themselves is via tannin, and tannin is a very bitter tasting substance that actually causes organ infection, or actually makes the kidneys and things fail after a long period of time after consuming so much tannin. Tannin poison, which you can call it. Look at that, folks. Beautiful. Here's another female. As you can see, they all vary in color. Same as with your males and females. They generally are known to vary in color, and the reason being is just purely because of the amount of food that they consume. There's a lot of debate about that, seeing that females and males can be both dark, but with age, males tend to go darker and females will basically just remain the same. Let me just reposition again. It's quite difficult with the animals having the mind of their own, wanting them to react like we want them to. So with a giraffe being as tall and as big as they are, they've got a massive heart. I mean, to be able to pump that blood all the way from the body all the way up to the head, it requires a lot of muscle, and the heart can actually weigh up to 12 kilograms, which is an exceptional weight for a heart. And definitely an animal that also will suffer from high blood pressure. So very nice. This is a typical sight of a safari, seeing the giraffe in the distance and the silhouette, which is a pity we don't have the guests on the vehicle to show it to, but soon we'll all just have to be positive, and you'll be all on safari in a short time.
Gerard, can I jump in there quickly if you don't mind?
Definitely, Jan, go ahead.
Jenny, I'm going to switch back to Gerard to answer your question. But folks, just to have a look what we found here. How incredible is that? Look at that tiny little, sweet little bubba. I know someone was asking earlier about if there's any babies. Oh, rhinos, yes, Sarah. Woo! Absolutely, rhinos. White rhinos there, guys. So we've got mom on the left. Sarah, there we go. Rhinos, also my favorite. Look at that youngster looking at us. He's a cute little bugger. Running back to mom now. Doesn't like us being here. So mom on the left, and I would assume the bigger calf or the bigger individual on the right hand side was probably her first litter. It's not uncommon to see rhinos are very sociable animals, and you know it's not uncommon seeing the first litter remaining with the mom and the youngster. Might be for another couple of weeks or several weeks, up until that female feels like her firstborn is getting too much now, and then she'll start pushing her further and further away, and then eventually she will leave. Oh, how we can tell the difference between black and white rhino? Yes, very easy question. Straight off from the bat, as you can see how that animal is feeding, the rhino is eating with its head straight down onto the ground. Black rhinos tend to eat with their heads up, because the black rhino is a browser, white rhinos are grazers. You'll notice as well that the white rhino's got a very long head, where the black rhino has a short, bulky little head, and a white rhino is more of an elongated, long, flat mouth. And black rhinos, you will also notice, if you look at those individuals in front of us, you'll notice that it's got a straight back, where a black rhino tend to have more of a concave little back as well. You can see the ears of the white rhino. There's also a group of rhinos is called a crash, Jenny. A crash of rhinos, collective noun for a group of rhinos. I think it fits them very well, a crash of rhinos. I actually want to get a little bit closer to where I am. I hope my signal strength is gonna hold. There's actually look at that big hole, big aardvark or an ant bear that lives down there. And you can see there's a bit of flies flying in and out there. So there is probably a warthog or a little puma that Andrew referred to earlier that has made that his new residence. So I'm just going to see how close the female will allow me to get. And then we'll switch off and have a look again. Look how that youngster, very inquisitive. His ears pointing forward. You know what, almost trying to tell us, listen here, mom, don't worry. I've got you. This vehicle is not going to come close. As you can see, folks, I'm actually not driving straight towards them. I'm just driving parallel as they're feeding. Right in front of me, there's impalas, there's a springbok, and also a black-backed jackal walking there. This is just some of the things that we see on it's on a daily basis. Look at that youngster, oh, little cute little bugger. Let's move a little bit closer. Hello, little fella. Here we go. Look at that. And you can see, folks, although with the vehicle moving whilst they were feeding, if animals feel threatened at any stage, it's like any other animal. You'll find even domesticated animals. They don't like you being there. They will either run away or go and hide. And you can see these guys are super chilled with us being here and just feeding. You can see that youngster there right on the tip of his horn. There's a bit of mud that he was digging his face into, and it's quite common for rhinos on hot days. We've been experiencing some lovely weather of late here on the reserve. Temperatures of about 25, almost to 28 degrees. Look at that youngster trotting running closer to his. Look at that. Yeah, he's adorable. You just want to take him home, man. Strong, thick skin, guys. You know, it's like a body armor that's covering around this these rhinos. You know, it makes them to be able to walk through thicker vegetation to get to another open area. Like we said earlier, rhinos, white rhinos are grazers and black rhinos are browsers, and we're very fortunate to have black and white rhino here on the reserve. You know, both species critically endangered, and I know Andrew will probably touch base a little bit on that subject to you guys as well, about our current situation that we have in the world. And poaching, yes, absolutely. As much as it happens with rhinos, it happens with elephants as well. I saw there was a question earlier about if elephants still get poached. Yes, absolutely. So, Andrew, Gerard, are you back there with some interesting? Yes, Gerard, straight back to you, my dear friend.
Yes, Jan. Before these giraffes disappear in the thicket, I know Finn had a question about how fast do giraffes run. Being as tall as they are, having a long reach, they can reach speeds of up to 55 to 60 kilometers per hour. So that is it's a substantial speed for an animal that can weigh up anywhere between 1.5 to 2 tons, which is crazy. But most of them have been through the thicket, all heading further on, seeing as much as they can feed. I'm going to switch back to Andrew, and then I'll join as soon as I find something interesting again.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Gerard. So I've moved across from the elephant and the zebra over there, the elephant over there, and I've just moved across onto the other side of the river, onto this beautiful open plain, and I've got a wonderful, very large breeding group of waterbuck. And you can see there's a whole bunch of youngsters all the way around me over here, whole bunch of youngsters and females, and there's one bull waterbuck lying in the grass over there. And these guys are my youngsters always call these guys our reindeers. They think they look like reindeers, but they're not reindeers. These are waterbuck, and they're so-called waterbuck because they're very reliant on water. They're often found in riverine environments, marshy areas, and one of their big defense mechanisms when they are hounded by predators is to actually run into water. So much so that they'll actually swim sometimes. I have witnessed some predators hunting these guys and chasing them into big dams, and in one instance actually wild dogs swimming after them to hunt them, and they managed to get away. So yeah, water is quite an effective anti-predator method, and these guys are heavily reliant on river lines and water and marsh areas, so you're never found far away from water. And as the crow flies, probably only about 250 meters away from our river line on the Bushman's River over there. So again, a beautiful species. That's the females over there. I'm just going to go a little bit forward, and you'll see one of the most characteristic markings on waterbuck that make them so characteristic is that white circle around their behinds, on their hindquarters. As the light starts improving, you'll see that white ring around the backside. There's a joke that they've sat on a wet toilet seat, which left the white ring. But that is just a very effective follow me signal. All animals in the bush have got a follow me signal, so that members of the same species can follow them, whether it be the black tip on a lion's tail, or the white underside of a kudu's tail as it flashes when it runs away. A warthog runs with its tail straight up in the air like an aerial on one of those mining vehicles, so that when they're running through the long grass, the youngsters can still keep tabs on mom. And there's a question there about the predators reliant on these animals for their kills. Yes, it's our job as guides. We try not to interfere at all, and we just have to observe. So like any reserve, it has to be managed to a certain extent, but we do have a ecologist and a vet and a whole wildlife team that are responsible for doing yearly census, making sure the balance is in check, And if the vegetation is right and the predators are right, everything in between will be right as well. So our lions, they've got to go out when they're hungry. Best they put in the appropriate amount of effort and they get rewarded. If they don't, they go hungry for the night. And the same for the leopard and the cheetah and the caracal, any predator that's here. We try and allow nature to take its course as much as possible. And as field guides, when we're out on drive with guests, is we just observe and we watch and we interpret behavior. So I hope that answers the question.
Andrew, would you mind if I step in there?
Of course, John, go for it.
So unfortunately, those buffalo just wouldn't play ball. I've dropped down to the river here, and I've got this beautiful pod of hippos in front of us here. Look at that. All of them saying hello. So a nice big pod of hippos. They were out of the water most of the day, like they quite often do in wintertime. They like to sunbathe a little bit. In summer, however, the sun is a bit too much for them and they tend to stick around in the water all day long. So they've just assembled in the water for a little bit now, and then they're going to be leaving the water shortly to start heading out and doing their grazing for the night. So they tend to be very inactive during the daytime, and then at nighttime they're moving around, busy feeding, etc. So nice pod of hippos collected now. So zoom in a little bit more. There's a couple of babies in here. So you can just barely, on the far right hand side next to mum, you can see two little ears sticking out the water. There's a tiny little one next to mum there. And then nudging mum there, very nice. How many hippos? Probably about 16, 18 of them here, roughly, Shelley. In this pod, at least. We've got a couple of different pods on the reserve, so nice healthy population of hippo. Beautiful. Like I mentioned earlier, as big as they are herbivores as well, so they head out at nighttime grazing, but they don't eat as much. So similar diet to the white rhinos that Jan had earlier, but they'll eat, generally speaking, about half as much because of this very inactive lifestyle that they have, spending most of their day inside the water. And I mean, the water itself will support their weight most of the time, so they don't even have to lug it around with them too much. And yeah. Babies are born just outside the water, and then suckling is done inside the water itself. After a very, very short gestation period for such a big animal, only about 8 months will mum carry that baby, as opposed to a rhino, which is normally about 16 months for a rhino of similar size. Very nice. I'm quite glad they were vocalizing and saying hi a little bit earlier. They said, "I'm quiet now." So that was quite good to hear. It's very iconic sound of the African rivers. Always quite special to hear that. Beautiful. All right, Andrew, I'm going to head back to you.
Stuff. Thank you very much, John. Well, I'm not too sure if there are any other questions on the reserve that you have. As I'm driving to the next area, I'll see if there's any other species. And as I'm going, if you have anything that you'd like to ask, there was a question about, do we have caracal here? Yes, we do. Caracal are South Africa's version of the lynx. It's quite a short-tailed, strong hind-quartered cat with long ear tufts. In Afrikaans, they call it a rooikat, which means a red cat. It does have a very red, rusty red color to it, which gives it its name. And yeah, very good predators, being able to jump into the air and catch birds and you know, that type of stuff. So yeah, it's one of the solitary cat predators that we have on the reserve. And amazing to see that. Also very shy and secretive, like the leopard. So I'm super glad that I managed to find that leopard before he headed down to the riverline. I've been guiding for 20 years, and I still get a massive adrenaline rush when I see and find leopard. It's absolutely amazing. There's a question about where's the camp based. So Shamwari Game Reserve, as Theo said earlier, is about an hour outside of Port Elizabeth on the southeastern coastline of South Africa. But if you look at South Africa as a whole, as a map, you pretty much draw a line down the middle of it, and we just on the right-hand side of that line on the southern coastline. We in that direction over there, about 20 kilometers as the crow flies from our southernmost boundary, you'll hit the largest half-heart bay of South Africa. So if you look at a map of South Africa, look for a half-heart bay, and that's Port Elizabeth, and we're an hour in a northwesterly direction from that. It's an amazing part of South Africa. It's where a number of our biomes converge, and a convergence of biomes. A biome is an area that supports its own unique plant, animal, bird, insect, geology, and climate. There's so much variance in that within this small little area of the country that we have a massive amount of biodiversity here. So yeah, PE is the friendly city of South Africa. Port Elizabeth is also the bottlenose dolphin capital of the world, another very important part of the country, and also the start or end of the garden route, which makes it absolutely special. So yeah, for you to come on safari as youngsters, I've been on this reserve for just over 15 years now, and there's youngsters, not so young anymore, but who return and say, I remember coming to Shamwari when I was just a kid, and they're young adults now, and they say that important exposure to wildlife and nature as youngsters is what cemented that love and appreciation for nature later on in life. So as Shamwari, we take youngsters out from about 4 years of age and up out on game drive with us, and they're able to enjoy and experience a very specific tailor-made kiddies program with very well qualified and trained guides, and have the most amazing time out in the bush. And it's those important memories from that young age that will start a lifetime of appreciation for nature. So I hope that answers the questions. I don't know if there's any of my guides who want to jump back to them for any other species that they found, but I think from my side, I'm going to say thank you very, very much for joining us this afternoon. It was absolutely amazing. It's been a beautiful afternoon. So from my side, thank you much. I really, I've loved and appreciated the afternoon and seen some great stuff. So thank you very much. Stay safe, and we hope to see you soon.
Hi, so I just wanted to say thank you very much to everybody that has actually come along this afternoon. It's been amazing. We've actually seen the big five, which is absolutely fantastic, and that definitely does not happen all the time, every time you go on safari. But it's been amazing. So I just wanted to say thank you to Nikki and Colin at Southern Africa 360 for helping us pull this together with the Shamwari Game Reserve. Nikki came up with the term Zoomfari, which seems to have caught on brilliantly. So thank you very much for that. I'd also very much like to thank the rangers. There was huge amounts of information that you gave us there. That was really, really exciting. I'm looking forward to watching it back again, because I feel there's some bits I just didn't quite catch as well, because I was busy trying to type as well as look at the animals. And also thank you ever so much to everybody that's donated. Obviously, all of the 100% of your donations will be going to Shamwari Community Fund and Macomberero. So thank you ever so much for all your donations. And I hope you've all really had a good time. I've had an amazing time. I just want to jump on a plane now and go back on safari, especially now I know there's caracal there. So but thank you ever so much to everyone. I really appreciate it.
Could everyone please put their cameras on and give Sarah a nice big wave? I'm just capturing it on the recording.
Hello, Finn and Evie. I have to say hello to my niece and nephew. Hello, darlings. How are you?
Cheers, everyone. Keep well. Bye-bye. And Sarah, yes, we have cheetah here on the reserve, but they've been giving us a hard time. But yes, we have. Keep well, everyone. Cheers now. Bye-bye.
Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you.